Well, it's medical day, and so I brought in a couple bales just to kind of coerce the cows to get down. And her back left foot looks like a little bit of hoof rot there, and we got one other one with a right front foot, a little bit of hoof rot. And yeah, so we'll just get her into the medical bay here and run her in and give her a bunch of shots and see if we can't help her out and make her feel better. Little antler shed there. I'm tempted to leave this open here, but we got our gate right there. She can stand and eat now. I might bring in I got one cattle panel over there, freestanding. I might bring it in on the end over here by the fence. So then I just pull a couple gates, and then that end is shut off. So we just got to get number 8 to walk down. You can see their cow path, so they're used to coming down this spot. But yeah, not the most fun of a starting of the day, but it is what it is. Good cow. They're both good cows and they're both bred, so we want to do what we can to save them. All right, patient number 2, come on in. Her front right is weird, and so we noticed a little bit of limp on them, and we almost didn't believe that it would be hoof rot because they're out here on dry lot. And I gotta move this one a little bit. And we didn't believe that it could be hoof rot. And then I talked to a couple others, and Jeremy right across the road, he's like, yeah, I would have never thought it either until I had it myself. And dry ground with hoof rot, or they get a little stone up in their hooves and get bruising up there and an infection. A lot of weight on that little tiny area. So either way, we'll give them in here and give them some LA 200 and kind of take a look and see what we're up against. If I can get this to set kind of right here somewhere. Without chasing the cows out, then we'll I figure with a couple bales right there, they're hardly going to be like, oh my gosh, we got to get out of here. I think like any other day, they're like, yeah, we really don't care what you're doing around us as long as we got food to eat. I'm watching that side. Get that fairly close. I gotta drive through the ditch. I just gotta get forward enough that we have enough panels to close that off. I think that'll work. Well, that actually went pretty well. Just a bunch of shots of antibiotics in each cow, not very eventful, but it just went nice. And then everybody, of course, has to get a treat when they come out of the chute. We're trying positive reinforcement like a little child. I don't know. It seems to work, though. You chuckle, but it seems to work. And yeah, so... All right, I think today looks like a good day to go. I got a mystery. I'll show you kind of a fun little mystery problem on a 4020. All right, so this 4020 came in, and it had the weirdest squeal. It's a late model power shift, but whenever you turn if the PTO lever got to brake position or to engage position, it just had this weird squeal, hydraulic squeal in the clutch housing. And sometimes when you were using the inching pedal or clutch pedal, you would get that same weird squeal. And so we're like, well, it must be the clutch valve housing. So we pulled the clutch valve housing off because it didn't make sense. If it squealed with the brake on and nowhere else, then we could have gone to like the PTO brake. And same thing, if it squealed with the clutch on, then we could have split it and checked clutch. But since it squealed on both and clutch and brake are two different spots, they're not the same clutch pack. Like, there's got to be a common denominator for two things to have the same issue. So we pulled this clutch valving off, and somebody had already been in there because there was white grease all over the surface. And you have this intermediate plate, and then you just got your valves here. So I'm looking at this, and I'm cleaning up the gasket surface, and there's this big open port, just a big port there. And I'm like, I wonder, so when you hold the clutch, this plate, so you got your clutch valve housing on the top half and your shift valves for the power shift on the bottom half, and that big hole just becomes a little hole. And what I wonder wasn't happening, so there was a plug missing. So I looked on the parts, and sure enough, there's supposed to be a plug. So we ordered it up, like a $35 or $50 plug, like basically nothing. The plug in the packing, and that will just fit right in there. But without that being in there, my theory is this is the hole, but you've got this cavity behind it, and I wonder if you weren't getting fluttering on this steel. That might sound silly, but when fluids, I was taught that when fluids go through a pipe, you know, they spin, and who knows what, you know, what oil is coming out, moving, and going where else. And to make that sound, it wouldn't take much to just flutter that pipe at a very high, flutter that plate at a very high frequency, and then it just echoes through this casting. And so I'm excited to try it. I did delay getting the tractor back to the guy for about a week, getting that plug in, but I think we can actually fix the problem, because the last conversation I had with the guy was, everything looks fine. Take your tractor back and just live with the squeal. And I didn't like that. And luckily you just had that epiphany moment. You guys had requested on Shane Holt's tractor. Let's go do a quick walk around out there. All right, guys. Hey, thanks for joining me. Let's look at the worst of the worst of that bad corn and see if that foliar feed did anything. And I'm going to tell you right now, this is the future of farming. You are watching the future of modern American agriculture happen live right in front of you right here. I'm not saying it to be funny. I'm just telling you, dead dirt farming, full tillage farming, full broadcast, your whole nutrient program, all that chemical program, that stuff is going to be thing of the past very quickly. When you look at what is happening around the world, it's a scary, scary time. A different conversation. After seeing how this crop responded, I did not leave a check strip. I'm not trying to be like, gee, I wonder if foliar feed made a couple bushel response. We tried to save this crop. That's why we did a tissue test. That's why we foliar fed it, because we came out with a couple 100 pounds to the acre of a nitrogen with sulfur and some other stuff to try and kick this crop in gear, and it did zero. For several weeks, it did nothing. Any one of you guys tell me, when you put on 25 gallons an acre of 28% plus some other stuff, and that thing doesn't turn blue-green in 3 weeks, you tell me how often you've ever experienced that. Never in my life. It did nothing. So we did the tissue test. It said we were low on a bunch of micros. So we sprayed the micros out here with some soil builders, and and Soil Life Helpers. And let me spin you around. And so here is the worst of the worst that I can find. Right there was when I made the other video, was right in that spot. And so the tall corn was behind me, remember, and then the short corn was in front of me. And so, but you look around at it now, right here is where I had the sprayer for that video of doing the foliar feeding. And so it really, a lot of these spots really came up big, and there are still some little depressions like this out and around the field, but for the most part they really just diminished in size, zoom out big time, and you actually got something. If we wouldn't have tissue tested and we wouldn't have applied that foliar feed, we would have had zero. And mark my word, next year 100% we are coming out at V2, V3, V4. Whenever they tell us we need to do that sap test, we are doing that sap test, and then we are building a foliar program, and we are doing it so when we get to V5, that moment of influence, that crop says, hey man, life is good. Life is real good. I've got everything I need here. I want 20 around on this ear of corn. And just boom. I have no idea if it will reflect just in vegetative growth, plant health, disease resistance, or yield, a little of all, some of none. I have no idea. But after seeing these results, kiss my hiney if you think I'm not going to do it next year, because this no-till, strip-till, you know, reduced fertilizer, reduced herbicide in corn, plus trying to bring in covers. We've solved a lot of issues, our runoff, our erosion and stuff like that. Direct crop expense, massive savings there. But we still have a lot of things to learn. All evidence points to keep going forward down the path we're going on. Let me spin you back around. So we got this little pop can ear here. But the other thing is, look at that soil. Every piece of gray that you see is worm castings. That's a big pile of worm castings. That is nutrient-dense soil. And look at that. A couple years ago, you would have never seen that out here. Look at some of the cover crop trying to get going on the ground. Now we just come a couple rows over, and look at the ear, you know. Nice ear there, big ear, full to the tip, guys. Why on earth do we have ears that are filled to the tip? They're way behind because they're green yet, so they're going to be light on test weight. It's going to be a little bit of a higher moisture spot here. It ain't perfect, but how on earth did we get big ears like that in a spot where all we were trying to do, look at that, all we were trying to do was save this crop to maybe make 50 or 60 bushel, because it was this tall doing zero, and now it tried to throw a sucker ear. You know, look at this one. Same thing. Trying to, big ears, trying to throw sucker ears. Look at that. Like, you tell me that I should have left a check string. This is hurting my brain trying to comprehend how on earth this is working. This shouldn't be. This should have been a plow down spot. This history tells me, when you had corn like this in the spring with troubled spots of fertilizer, you know, whether you made a fertilizer mistake or whatever, or just a bad spot in the field, history says that that's a, you know, 20, 30, 50 bushel spot. Not ears like that trying to throw a sucker on the plant. Like, what on earth is going on? So I don't know, guys. I don't know. You got worms coming out of the ground. Look at that. Granted, a plant is missing here, so these two byrites should be big, but every one of them is filled to the tip, coming right out. What on earth? What? Look at that guy. Look at these guys. There's a gap there. Yep, these two should be big, but what do you say about, I mean, come on, man. One of you sciencey guys better, dear gosh, I wonder, there's no way I can, he's in there, I can feel the roots tearing. Oof. Oof. Timber. Look at that. Look at that. Look at the size of that worm right there. What in tarnations? My Lanta. How much water? You know, we're on kind of a knob here. Water races from that pole towards me real fast. Real fast. Look at that little cover crop growing. All this, you know, each corn stalk is going to stop some water. All them worm castings are going to help slow down water. All them wormholes are going to help water get into the soil. But look at that thing. Ho, 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 ho. When you got to pound the dirt off the root like that, look at that fibrous. Holy cow. There's my disc gripper. There's my disc gripper. Look at that soil. Look at that soil. You guys that were at the farm show, we should have done the water infiltration out here. My gosh. My gosh. That is just gorgeous. And I can just keep paddling. I'm going to hit the clay here in a second, and then I won't be able to paddle anymore. But, oh, there's another worm. This is the future of farming right here. Look at that big guy. Let's get him. Ouch! He bit me. He's so big, he bit me. Holy cow. That's insane. You may think I'm weird, but boy, I'll tell you what, this soil was not like this a couple years ago. I'm, like I said, kiss my hiney if you think you could convince me that no-till don't work here and we not Nope. Nope. We're on to something. I have no idea what, but we're on to something. All right, guys. This is making me a little feisty. Karen, if you're watching, look out.